Thank you, sir, for affording me the opportunity to speak this on important bill regarding the High Court and Supreme Court judges' salaries and conditions of service amendment bill 2021. Although in that bill, very small clarification is there with respect to on the completion of a particular year of age, he is entitled for the pension. So I rise to support this bill. So I would also like to say, so far the salary part is concerned, pension part is concerned, this Honorable August House always support. And so far the remuneration part is concerned of the judges. The remuneration for the remuneration of the judges in our country, it may be High Court, it may be a Supreme Court, it may be a subordinate court. It is far less compared to the other countries. So this is the reason that even after their retirement or superannuation, they get the employment elsewhere. Now, question of the conditions of service, because the word mentioned is the salaries and conditions of service of the amendment bill. So the Constitution of India provides the complete, so far as the conditions of service are there with respect to the appointment of the judges, it is there in the Constitution itself. It may be for the High Court and Supreme Court judges, but for the subordinate judiciary, it can be by the act of the state legislature, or it can be provided under the rules framed by the High Court. So far these conditions of service are concerned, sir. These conditions of service of the judges with respect to salary have been framed under Article 125 of the Constitution of India, and for the High Court under 221 of the Constitution of India, the Parliament is competent to lay down the conditions of service of the High Court and Supreme Court judges. So apart from their appointment, other conditions of service can be laid down by the Parliament. Now we talk about the independence of judiciary and all this. So this part has been given by the Constitution to frame the conditions of service by the Parliament, and so far the appointment part is concerned, that is under the Article 124. So I read these conditions of service. We can see the so many conditions of service can be dealt with. Even for the, when we talk about the independence of judiciary, because I will come later on the NJAC issue. But when we consider about the leave, even for the leave, the conditions of service is to be laid down by the law made by the Parliament. Even for the salaries and pensions, the conditions of service can be laid down by the law made by the Parliament. And other conditions of service are also contemplated with respect to the perks and all this. No doubt the salaries of the judges are protected. The tenure is protected. So we can show the independence of judiciary can be secured by the Constitution of India. Now, when we come to the judicial reforms is not only limited for the dealing with the vacancies and so many other issues. It is also related to the condition of service of the judges. It is also related to the appointment of the judges. When we see about the appointment of the judges, because the constitutional framers specifically provided under Article 124 of the Constitution of India that the judges of the Supreme Court shall be appointed by the President of India after consultation with the Chief Justice of India. Now kindly see, in this connection, not only this, so far as the High Court judges are concerned, the High Court judges will be appointed by the President of India after consultation with the Governor and the Chief Justice of the High Court. So the consultation part is rare. So for 43 years, right from 1950 to 1993, this practice was there. Large number of judges were appointed in the Supreme Court and High Courts. They were exceptional judges. They rendered the quality judgments. Their judgments were referred everywhere. Now, even these days also, that they are laying the basic principle of law. So we can't say the judges, when appointed in view of the under Article 124 of the Constitution of India, they were lacking quality. So, and everybody know about it. The whatever judges we were having up to 1993, I'm not saying that the judges are not good, they are good, rendering very good judgment. But I am saying that when the executive involvement was there, we can't say that when executive involvement was there, the judges' quality was less than the judges' quality which we are having today. So all the judges prior to 1993 were equally competent. And if you see, kindly see, Under Article 124, the first judge case is of the S.P. Gupta and Shakal Das, wherein the word consultation appearing in Article 124 was defined as consultation means that no primacy can be given to the Chief Justice of India, and apart from its consultation do not mean concurrence. So that was the situation. So in 1993, the first judge case, which came and in primacy of the Chief Justice of India, and the word consultation was defined as concurrence. So the problem started from there because it amounted to rewriting of the Constitution by way of judgment, and then the reference was made by the President of India and Article 143 of the Constitution of India. And very strange to see Article 143 of the Constitution of India. If we see, it provides that it is only seeking the opinion from the Supreme Court. Now, question is whether the opinion rendered by the Supreme Court is binding, but that has been treated as binding. Now, we are required to consider it very seriously. Even in case whenever the opinion is taken by the President of India, while exercising the power under Article 143 of the Constitution of India, then that opinion can be binding on the government as it was happened in 1998 judgment. The reference was made. So Article 143 provides that power of President to consult Supreme Court. If any time it appears to the President that the question of law or fact has arisen or likely to arise which is of the nature of the such public importance that is expedient to opinion of the Supreme Court upon it, it may refer the question to that court for consideration, and the court may, after hearing as it thinks fit, report to the President opinion thereon. Now, question arises, so word opinion and consultation. Whenever the President of India consults the Supreme Court under 143, then that opinion is also binding. And consultation is a concurrence. Now, in keeping in view this fact, so this NJAC, this in 1998, again the system of collegium was created. The judges were required to be appointed on the basis of the collegium. The collegium was required to be created at the stage of the High Court and the Supreme Court. The procedure adopted by the collegium that the three judges, they send the recommendation. Now, question is the sending the recommendation by the three judges. We all know that the Chief Justice of the High Court is normally appointed from outside, where the benches of the High Court at more than one place, the principal seat and other bench. Then the Chief Justice, after joining there, not necessary that he is knowing about all the candidates. And secondly, even the second-most judge, he is also from the outside. It is not necessary he must be knowing about all the things about the candidate. And the third judge, if he is not sitting in the bench even for a single day, then he can also participate. Now, what type of information and mechanism which the executive is having, they are not having. So this is the reason now these days that out of Yes, I will come on that point. Now kindly see that this recommendation, this type of recommendation now these days we have seen that 40 to 80% recommendation made by the High Court were declined by the Supreme Court. It showed that the procedure of the collegium adopted by the High Court and Supreme Court is not foolproof, and the mechanism, they don't have mechanism. They don't have to know the antecedents of the candidate, and later on it was found by the Supreme Court that the candidate whose name has been recommended, the serious issues are there. So it is not possible for a High Court to go into all these details because this is nothing to do with the independence of the judiciary. Once the person is appointed, then independence of judiciary starts, not before that. And even when names reach to the Supreme Court, so one list is sent to the state chief minister, one to the governor, one to the law ministry, and one to the Chief Justice of India. Then everything is processed there. The comment of the law minister is also there. But strange enough, even those comments are not taken in the minutes of the proceeding of the Supreme Court collegium. Now, what type of interference? Now, can I, being a member of parliament, can I ask my law minister? He is accountable to this parliament. But with respect to the filling of the posts of the High Court and Supreme Court judges, I can't hold him accountable. in view of the Supreme Court judgment recently rendered. So where we are having a parliamentary democracy, all the ministers are accountable, but it is very difficult to hold accountable to the law minister because he has no role to play. He has no role to fill up the vacancies available in the High Court and Supreme Court judges. It is the mechanism, the process is to be started by the High Court judges, to be completed by the Supreme Court judges. So there is no role of the Ministry of Law in this connection. So this is the reason that the NJAC was enacted, and the Parliament unanimously, except one vote, passed that law. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court declared it otherwise on the ground that the independence of judiciary is basic structure of the Constitution. But I would like to say, first, democracy is the basic structure of the Constitution of India. And once we say democracy is basic structure of the Constitution of India, then the interference with the functioning of the executive, interference of the functioning of, I can understand with the judiciary, is also violation, but so far the appointment, the power which has been given to the executive by framing the Constitution, because we are having a very strange type of Constitution. The power is, we are not the executive which is exercising all the power. The judiciary as well as the executive both are exercising the power. So now if we see the scheme of the Constitution, entire scheme of the Constitution, then we can come to the conclusion even under Articles 103 and 192. If a member of the Parliament is disqualified, so that is only the provision where exception is there, where the President is not required to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. The President is required to seek the opinion from the Election Commission, and he is bound by the opinion rendered by the Election Commission. So the Constitution, wherever the provision is there, where the President is required to act in accordance with the mandate of that opinion, then particular provision there. But this is the reason that under Articles 103 and 192, where the member of Parliament or the state legislature disqualified, then that disqualification is required to be considered by the President of India only on the basis of the advice rendered by the Election Commission. So, sir, this is, apart from this, I would like to say that after the NJAC judgment, that what has happened, this is very strange. And this opinion is required to be kept in mind by this Honorable August House and also by the government while taking the view that how in this 2015 judgment, the opinion of this judgment given by some of the judges, I would like to quote from the judgment. Basically, this Supreme Court on 16th of December 2015, when the NJAC was declared ultra-vires, almost every Supreme Court judge, almost every judge, on 5-member constitutional bench hearing the case made scathing comments on the opacity of the present collegium system and recommended change in collegium system, making it more transparent and accountable. The last two paragraphs of the consenting judgment of the Sri Justice Joseph Kurian, now retired, wherein he agreed with the views of Sri Justice Chalamaser and said, the present collegium system lacks transparency. I am quoting from the judgment of the NJAC judgment, where this NJAC was declared ultra-vires. The present collegium system lacks transparency, accountability, objectivity. The trust deficit has affected the credibility of the collegium system quite often. Very serious allegation and many a time, not unfounded, to have been raised that its approach has been highly subjective. Deserving persons have been ignored, wholly for subjective reasons. Social and other national realities were overlooked. Certain appointments were purposely delayed, so as either to benefit vested choices or to deny such benefit to next patronized. Selection of patronized or favored persons were made in latent violation of the guideline, resulting in unmerited, if not bad appointments. The dictatorial attitude of the collegium, this Supreme Court judge is saying in the same judgment, seriously affecting the self-respect and dignity, if not independence of judges. The court, particularly the Supreme Court, often being styled as the court of collegium. The looking forward syndrome affecting impartial assessment, etc., have been some of the other allegations in the air for quite some time. The observation of Chief Justice Madan B. Lokar in his consenting judgment, wherein he stated, executive had equally important participative role in integrated process of appointment of the judges, where I have stated even the dissent note of the ministry, dissent note of the government, it can't be the part of the agenda. So that executive adopted a deficit or I do not care attitude is most unfortunate. Sri Justice M.B. Lokar further stated that the political executive has to share the blame equally, if not more, since it mortgages its constitutional responsibility of maintaining a check on what may be described as the erroneous decision of the collegium. Justice Joseph Kurian further in his judgment has stated that the active silence of the executive not preventing such unworthy appointment was actually one of the major problems. Therefore, collegium system needs to be improved, requiring a glasnost and perestroika. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court in judgment dated 4th of July 2017. Then, sir, next, again one more judgment on 4th of July 2017 after the NJAC judgment. Then in that judgment, the two judges, the views of the two judges, the Supreme Court on 4th July 2017, so moto, in contempt proceeding against a judge of Calcutta High Court, wherein two then judges of the Supreme Court, Sri Justice Chelameswar and Justice Ranjan Gogoi, inter alia highlighted the need to revisit process of selection and appointment of the judges. We have to take the note of these judgments, and I request the government to revisit the collegium system and in view of the Article 124 and the original, the spirit and object of the Article 124 is required to be restored. And apart from this, recently, then the above two judges judgment stated further, this case highlights two things. Number one, the need to revisit the process of selection and appointment of the judges to the constitutional courts. For that matter, any member of the judiciary at all levels. And the number two, the need to set up appropriate legal regime to deal with situations where the conduct of the judges of constitutional court require corrective measures other than impeachment to be taken. The judgment further states, obviously, there is a failure to make an assessment of personality of the contemner at the time of recommending his name for elevation. Our purpose is not to point finger to individuals who were responsible for recommendation, but only to highlight the system's failures for not providing an appropriate procedure for making such an assessment. Now, sir, the Honorable J.S. Verma, who was the chief architect of the 1993 judgment, I would like to refer his. He was the chief architect of the judgment. He realized. Then J.S. Verma, who wrote the lead judgment in our advocate record of 1993, in an interview in Frontline dated 10th of October 1998, when asked, you said in one of your speeches that judicial appointment have become judicial disappointment. Do you regret your 1993 judgment? Justice Verma stated, my 1993 judgment, which holds the field, was very much misunderstood and misused. It was in that context I said that the working of the judgment now for some time is raising serious questions. My judgment said the appointment process of the High Court and Supreme Court judgment is basically a joint or participatory exercise between the executive and judiciary, both taking part in it. Broadly, there are two distinct areas. One is the area of legal acumen of the candidate to adjudge their suitability, and the other is antecedent. Not only the legal acumen. So far the antecedent part is concerned, it is the work of the executive to find out from the intelligence. The judiciary, it may be a collegium system at the High Court level. It may be a collegium system at the Supreme Court level. They are not positioned to collect the antecedent of the candidate. This is the problem. So apart from legal acumen, we know better than the judges who is a good lawyer, who is a good judge, required to be promoted in the Supreme Court from High Court. Who is a good lawyer? Yes, who is a good lawyer? We can adjust. And we have executive adjust from 1950 to 1993. All the good judges were appointed, and they have rendered this remarkable judgment, and those judgments are still cited. So apart from this, so legal acumen is judiciary opinion should be dominant, and antecedent part is the executive should be dominant. Now, sir, so when we are talking about this, the reason why it is a violation of the basic structure. When we are talking about the basic structure of the Constitution, in the democracy, the separation of power, because separation of the power between the executive and judiciary and between the parliament is the basic structure of the Constitution of India. And not only this, our Constitution provides check and balance. Once we use the word check and balance, the balance we can understand. It is a distribution of the power. But the check at the same time is the accountability. What is the accountability of the judiciary? Towards whom? The accountability is not towards the parliament. The accountability is not towards the people. To say it is a very shame that judiciary is accountable to the Constitution of India. Who will judge it? So that's why I said that even our Honorable Law Minister is not accountable to the parliament with respect to the appointment of the High Court and Supreme Court judges. So far the appointment of the subordinate judiciary is concerned, it is within the domain of the state government. And if the reference was made by Mr. Shashi Tharoor, that the 30 lakh cases are pending in the subordinate courts. It is for the state government to appoint the judges. It is for the high courts to appoint the judges. Though this blame, how the government of India is responsible for this. Government of India can provide the infrastructure. Government of India has paid since 2014 till now. This more than 6,000 crore have been paid. And now Honorable Minister has recently stated in the public, this statement was there. Around 9,000 crore is being dispersed by for the infrastructure. And out of this large amount is by the government of India. The other amount is by the state. So the accountability is the major part. So in this we are having the balance, but no check. And check comes only on account of the accountability. So, sir, when we talk about the independent judiciary, because under the Constitution, just we have read this today, these service conditions, rules are there with respect to the payment of the salary, payment of the pension, with respect to the leave, all these which are to be provided by Parliament, and so far the appointment, and the secure tenure of the 62 years and 65 years, the salary can't be reduced. All these are indicate independence of judiciary, and no interference in the judiciary we are seeing today on these days. And kindly see, so if you see the other countries, on the question of appointment, now only if the executive is appointed can we say that democracy is not mature. If we see the United States of America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, they are also having democracy. In USA, in state, the judges are elected. Can we say that these are politicians? Therefore, because the maximum litigant is the state, can we say that the judiciary is not independent there?
That's right.
So America is a more mature democracy than ours. We should speak it frankly. But judges are elected. The judges are, just a minute. The judges are elected.
थरूर जी ने बोला ना, शशि थरूर जी ने बोला ना, ये वही बात कर रहे हैं। शशि थरूर जी बोल रहे हैं ना, शशि थरूर जी ने बोला, शशि थरूर जी ने बोला, उसी के जवाब दे रहे हैं। बोला, और आप भी मानते हो कई बार, आप भी अमेरिका का उदाहरण दे दो, कई बार अमेरिका का उदाहरण दे दो। शशि थरूर ने बोला है, शशि थरूर ने बोला है,
इसीलिए बोला मैं।
थरूर साहब कंपेयर कर रहे थे।
अरे थरूर साहब को कंपेयर करा था मैं। चलो नजरअंदाजी और किनारा कसी है बात को।
Just saying something to the government.
So sir,
it is up to them.
I was saying that so far the appointment process is there. In mature democracy in USA, so far the state are concerned, judges are elected by elected. And if they are not elected, then the legislative concurrence is required. And so far the Supreme Court America is concerned, the judges is nominated by the President of India. And then the President of America, so far as the judges of the Supreme Court are concerned, the judges are nominated by the President of India and President of America, and their confirmation is by the Senate. So this is the procedure. This nomination by the President of America and this confirmation by the Senate, this is purely by the executive. But in India, we have a proper check and balance. So that's why we have used the word consultation. And in Canada, the judges are appointed by the Governor General. In Australia, judges are appointed by executive. In New Zealand, judges are appointed on the recommendation of the Prime Minister by the President. Thereafter, some more procedure is there, Attorney General and all this. But it shows that merely because since 1950 to 93, judges were appointed by the executive, we can't say that at that time they were lacking any quality. Can't say that their judgments were not good. They were equally competent people. And apart from this, the accountability of and I will refer one more. This even the Law Commission, in its 85th report, laws delays, errors in court, and even this in 85th report by the Law Commission of India, laws delays, errors in court, has expressed the view, and these are very important with respect to the accountability of the Ministry of Law. The committee is aware that for this state of affairs, the Union Law Ministry is not blameworthy, as the entire process of initiation of proposal for appointment of new judges is no longer the responsibility of the executive as a result of a decision of the Supreme Court. Though it was not contemplated in the Constitution, responsibility for judicial appointment now rests in the domain of the judiciary. The Union Law Ministry is accountable to Parliament for delay in filing of the vacancy of judges, but he has functionally no contribution to make. The Supreme Court read into the Constitution or a power to appoint judges that was not confirmed upon it by the text or the context. The underlying purpose of securing judicial independence was salutary, but the method of acquiring for the court the exclusive power to appoint judges by the process of judicial interpretation is open to question. Against this backdrop, the committee recalls a discussion in Rajya Sabha in which the government was asked regarding alternate arrangement to fill up the vacancies and whether there was any scope for having the fresh review of the Supreme Court judgment. So, sir, I would also like to refer the judgment of the Justice K.S. Kher. Justice K.S. Kher, he has mentioned that since the law minister is on the committee, therefore it is because the government is involved in so many litigation. Therefore, in NJAC committee, the keeping the member as the member of the committee as Law Minister of India, we can affect the judicial independence. So this, if the Law Minister he is accountable to the Parliament, his presence should be very much there. And I have already stated that how the recommendation sent by the Collegium is turned down by the Supreme Court. So now what are the way forward? Just a minute.
आप अपनी बात करो, आप अपनी बात करो।
वो अबे हमारा 2 घंटा है, 2 घंटा दादा बैठिए आप।
No, there is more
दादा
than
बैठिए दादा। This either the NJAC judgment where the Supreme Court has pointed out only the small mistake. It is not said that the government is not competent to legislate it. Only with respect to the constitution of the committee, the constitution of the committee can be corrected, and we can bring a new bill for changing the amendment of the constitution as well as the act for bringing this new constitution of the committee, where the eminent persons from the scheduled caste category, ST category, OBC category or minority or women category may be appointed on the committee for the period of 3 years. Now, yes, So that's why I'm making the request that either my request is either we have to revisit the NJAC, the judgment, and come out with a new bill making the respective correction, or because while framing the Constitution of India, the Article 366 was there. 366. It was provide various definitions. This is basically a definition clause. And in my opinion, because the word, this is only a word consultation, which was appearing not only at one place, but at so many places, with respect to the appointment of the High Court, Supreme Court judges, with respect to transfer, and so many places, with respect to even the Supreme Court is taking consultation from the Public Service Commission and all this. So only at one place, with respect to the appointment and transfer of the judges, the word consultation has been termed as concurrence, but nowhere, even under Article 143, where the President of India is required to obtain the opinion by making the reference to the Supreme Court, then whatever the opinion rendered, that is not binding, but by this analogy, it can be said. In view of the judgment of 1998, third judge's case, that the opinion rendered by the Supreme Court under Article 143 is also binding. Therefore, the word consultation and the word opinion, both are required to be defined under Article 366. If these words are defined under Article 366, then in my opinion, there is no need to bring anything else, except in 5 lines, the word consultation may be defined. Consultation do not mean concurrence. So, or we can constitute a commission. The complete hearing can be given. 6 months time may be given. That the hearing may be given to the retired judges as well as to the lawyer and all the stakeholders. And the report may be obtained by the government. But this issue is required to be settled because we are lacking the checks. Balance is there. The accountability is not there. Therefore, this again we have to restore the original position under the Constitution. Now, so far this subordinate judiciary's appointment is concerned, sir. This is within the domain of the state government, and it is for the state government because this number of vacancies as on today is around the sanctioned posts are around 25,000, and 20,000 are working less than 20,000. 5,000 posts are lying vacant in the subordinate courts, and that is the responsibility of the High Court and the respective state government. It can't be responsibility of the central government. And sir, so far this creation of the All India Judicial Service is concerned, the All India Judicial Services, the Law Commission report, initially it was given in 1958, thereafter in 1978, then the Standing Committee also gave the report in 2006, and the recommendation was made for creation of the All India Judicial Services, and the Supreme Court was also, the directions are also issued by the Supreme Court in 1992. Just a minute.
Yes,
So far, I am not making any comment with respect to that, sir. I am making my submission only. If I don't refer, make no difference.
Confine yourself, please.
I am not making any comment with respect to that. Stating the fact and making the comment on that, both are different things. So it is without any comment, making the submission. Mr. Tharoor has made a comment on that. So even in that, so my suggestion is, so for that purpose, even the exam can be conducted at all India level, and the candidate may be allotted to the respective state at the most, and after examination, the High Court can interview them, and they can make the appointment. And some of the critics on so far the All India Judiciary is saying, they are saying that it may impeach the separation of power, but it is not, because in the federal setup, we are having the separate executive. The federal system is there. We are having the separate legislature. Federal system is there. But for judiciary, it may be Supreme Court, High Court, and subordinate courts. They all deal with the law made by the state legislature. They all deal with the law made by the parliament. So therefore, that is, we can't say that so far the judiciary is concerned, that is a federal. So the critics, if they are saying something about that it should not be All India Judicial Services, that is ill-conceived and unfounded. And it can be, we can go further for creating All India Judicial Services at par like All India Administrative Services, Indian police services. So like that we can create and we can have a pool of talented people, and we can attract more talented, and those can be further appointed in High Court and Supreme Court, so they can help in better justice delivery system. So sir, finally sir, I would like to say that in Article 312, the amendment was made for creating All India Judicial Services, because under Article 334 and 333, no amendment is required, because when this amendment is made in Article 312, only on the basis of the resolution moved before the Rajya Sabha by 2/3 majority, present and voting, this resolution can create the creation of the All India Services can be there. And there will be a single integrated, this uniformity and unity by creating these services, and it will help in reducing the areas, and we will have a talented people, the quality of judgment will be there, the process in dealing with the cases, it will also reduce the time, and so all these, my submission with respect to so I request the Honorable Minister kindly to see whether it can be, and by defining the word consultation, because word consultation was not defined in the Constitution under Article 366. I think this is the reason that Supreme Court has taken over it, and that since the word was not defined, if the Parliament define it, the word consultation is not concurrent, then the whole problem can be solved. And original, we can restore we have today, we have issued the clarification by way of explanation. The same thing can be done with respect to for defining the word consultation
made your
under
point.
Article 366. Thank you very much, sir.